What is happening, everybody, and welcome to our American football podcast in the End Zone UK. In this episode, we're covering a recap of week 4 of the 2022 NFL season, which was, as always, action-packed. I'm your host, Dom, and across the mic from me, 4 weeks in, still going strong. Some say he's the second best person at fantasy football on this podcast. It's the other half of the In the End Zone UK team. It's Big Dave. How's it going, Big Dave?
All good. Oi, oi, Savaloi, and all that good stuff. Second best, I believe, that my team scored the most points in fantasy this week.
Yeah, you've got gloating rights on that. However, still sitting pretty at the top of the leaderboard. Me, myself, and I.
It's early days.
No, it's good stuff. It is good stuff. So, Dave, let's recap. Did the New York Giants win this week?
They certainly did.
Did you win your fantasy game this week?
I certainly did.
Did the Seattle Seahawks win this week?
They certainly did.
And did I take home a victory in fantasy as well this week?
You certainly did.
And you know what that means. What does that mean, Dave?
Means we've got the double crown.
Double crown. All we do is win.
All I do is win, no matter what.
All we do is win.
Love that. That's strong, you know. Like 2 double crowns in what, 4 weeks?
Yep.
That
it's not bad, is it?
No, I would have not expected that.
It's not bad at all.
How many more do you reckon we'll have? Legitimately. 17 weeks of football, 4 down, 2 double crowns.
I reckon 6.
I wish. That'd be great.
Predicting that the Giants are going to win another 6 games.
Yeah.
Which would take us to 9.
That'd be lovely. Another 6 double crowns. That would be, we'd be fighting it at the top of the fantasy leaderboard if that was the case. Good stuff. Gloating over. Now that's out the way. We have to gloat though, Dave, don't you? When you're a winner, you've got to rub it in people's face.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Literally just had chicken for dinner as well. It was banging. Cool. Week 4 has closed and it started with a bang, which is, excuse the pun, to Tua Tagovailoa.
Who?
Tua Tagovailoa. Is that right?
No.
Say it again.
His actual name is Tua Tagovailoa.
Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they call him Tagovailoa for some reason.
Okay. Well, excuse the started with a bang pun, considering he had his lights knocked out in that Thursday night football game, but that's how this week started. The Cincinnati Bengals, Super Bowl contenders, taking on the unbeaten Miami Dolphins, or then unbeaten Miami Dolphins, with Tua going out and whacking his head. That made for an easy win for the Bengalis, which then led into a week of very close games for the most part. The likes of the Bills, the Packers, the Vikings, all winning tightly contested games. And then we finished last night. Last night's week 4 end was the LA Rams. Again, another Super Bowl winner from last year, taking on the Niners and losing. That is not good drills from the Niners, or from the Rams, sorry. Definitely.
Certainly not.
So with that all in mind, this podcast is going to be called The Power of 3. And that is because 5 games this week came down to just 3 points between each of them. And that is as tight as what people say in Nottingham, a gnat's chuff, which I believe that means a mosquito's bumhole or something like that, or a gnat's bumhole.
Something like that.
Is that right? I mean, that's got to be pretty small. But
there's also a famous saying in Nottingham, and it implies mainly to Dom that he's hung like a gnat's knacker.
You don't need to explain that one. People can work it out for themselves. It's not true, I swear.
Means he's got a little...
More like a bumblebee. Cheers for that, Dave. Anyway, love that. Podcasters don't pay any attention to Dave. After this week, only one team remains unbeaten in the NFL. One team only, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll talk about those a little bit later, but today we're going to begin with some news. We're going to give you slap or sign, of course. We're going to recap on some of the big games this week, and then me and Dave are going to hit a final segment called Build Your Own, and that is where me and my comrade will attempt to build our own quarterbacks from parts of other quarterbacks in the NF and AFC. We'll explain that a little bit later, but we'll get there. As per usual, we're going to start with a gloomy segment of injuries. There's not too many this week, albeit they were pretty big ones. And let's start with the first injury news is that our sign, or my sign from last week, Cordarrelle Patterson, for the Atlanta Falcons, superstar wide receiver / running back / kick returner / whatever else you want to call him, probably could be a tight end as well. Cordarrelle Patterson has now been placed on IR with at least 4 or 5 weeks injury to his knee. Did we jinx him last week, Dave, giving him all the praise under the sun?
Potentially.
I think we might have done. But, I mean, is that a big loss for the Falcons?
Yeah, huge loss.
Yeah.
Because he was there. Basically, they're back in they're decent running back.
Yeah, he's been about the only person who's got anything going on the Falcons recently. So, I mean, they're not exactly contenders, but it makes them less scary to play when they've not got him in the backfield. So, not good news for the Falcons to start with. And then another running back in one of the later games was Javonte Williams, who's an up-and-coming running back for the Denver Broncos. He has been sharing snaps with Melvin Gordon for the most part this year, and came into the league last year as an exciting rookie. He's done far more than just hurt his knee, hasn't he, Dave?
He is obliterated his knee. Bless him.
He has MCL tear or something like that, as well as a LCL, is it, or something?
I think so.
I've never even heard of that one, but
no, I ain't a doctor. I call it my knee, and if my knee hurts, I say my knee hurts.
You call it a knee ouchie.
Yeah.
Owie. He's got a big owie, has Javonte Williams. That has ruled him out of the rest of the season by the looks of things. He has obliterated, shattered, discombobulated his kneecaps, and he won't be playing another snap for Denver, which is a problem for them because they've not looked great so far anyway. And Melvin Gordon has fumbled the ball so many times this season. It's a bit of a joke for somebody who should be an established back. But the Broncos haven't been exciting, have they, Dave? So it's not really a big issue.
No, they've been very, very beige. I think everybody thought Russell Wilson going there was going to change the landscape in Denver, getting back to them days when Peyton Manning was hurling the rock, or who's the other youth who was there? Who's their GM now? Is it the GM?
Oh, Elway.
Yeah, John Elway. Yeah, when he was there. But Russ doesn't seem to be cooking anything. He's cooking without gas.
He is, for sure. Which sucks for the Broncos fans, but let's see if they can pick it up towards the as we approach sort of like the mid third of the season or quarter of the season. They certainly need to do better. And that's it. The injuries were minimal but brutal this week, so we don't need to spend too much time on it. I know that your team hangs in the balance at the moment, Dave. They're heading over to the UK probably as we speak, and Danny Dimes has got some ankle injury, and Tyrod Taylor has done a tour, Tagovailoa, or whatever we call him, and fell over and banged his noggin. And so he's not going to be. He might not even be making the trip to the UK, might he?
No, he won't be. He's in concussion protocols. There's no way he's coming. There's no way on this planet they're letting anybody who's had a concussion. There's no chance they're playing the following week, especially what happened with Tua.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I think I was reading about this week. Anybody who had even a sniff of a head injury was just ruled out of the game immediately. Doctors overcompensating for the mistakes of others by the looks of things.
Yeah.
faux show. Okay, well, that's it. We move on, and we move on to one of our favourites. Have you been bathing your hand in rice, Dave?
No.
Have you been hitting it with a lump hammer?
I've been, like we used to do with conkers, I've been soaking it in vinegar.
Ooh.
I put it in the oven,
Ooh.
toughening it up, callousing my hand over, ready to slap the for shiz out of some douchebags.
Nice. Sounds smelly as well. I hope you've washed that vinegar off.
No.
Or put it on your chips.
I don't use a knife and fork, so I just pick my food up and it's good to go.
You're a savage. Okay, let's hit it. Let's get ready for slap or sign. So, Dave, hit us immediately with your NFC slap.
My NFC slap is Baker Mayfield.
He deserves one.
He is what is commonly known in the trade as god awful. He was a number one pick many moons ago, 4 years ago now, 5 years ago. He's on his second team because the first team didn't want him. And now he's making a right pig's ear of his time with the Panthers. They're currently sat at 1-3, and he ain't doing them no favours. This week, threw 197 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. He is bang average.
If not worse than average.
Yeah, I don't like the best thing about Baker Mayfield is his is whatever he does, whatever his commercials are or adverts.
That's what he should stick to.
He needs, he'll probably be one day be a very good pundit because he's got a bit of panache about him, bit of personality. But what he has in spades of personality, he lacks everything as a quarterback. He's just not that guy.
No, he's not. He had a stinker of a game. I mean, the Panthers put 16 points up on what is a pretty poor Cardinals team, so we probably won't be talking about that game later, but the Cardinals beat the Panthers 26-16 in this one. There was, when you look at the box score, there was almost nothing to talk about from a Panthers perspective whatsoever. Baker Mayfield had a passer rating of 61.9, which is woeful. And yeah, he threw 2 interceptions and less than 200 yards, which is not good. So, well-deserved slappering for Bakerus Mayfieldius.
Yeah.
Okay, take us through your sign in the NFC as well then, Dave.
I'm going to sign a position that the Giants need more than anything right now, and that's a wide receiver. I am signing Deebo Samuel.
Deebo Samuel.
Yeah. There was probably better sort of statistical wide receivers, but what he gives the Niners is I think nobody else is doing it. There probably are a few receivers that can do it, but he's just so hard to bring down. He caught a slant in that game for probably a 7 or 8 yard pass.
Yeah.
Beat the defender out to get it, and then ran probably 50 yards to take it to the end zone. Dismantled Jalen Ramsey's pathetic attempt at trying to one arm tackle his legs.
Yeah.
His legs are the size of a normal human's waist, so he clearly just brushed him off and then ran into the end zone. He just offers them something that I think that I would like to have on my team, on the Giants. A wide receiver that can catch a ball and make magic happen after he's caught it.
Yeah, exactly right. Not only does he make people miss, but even if he doesn't make the miss, he can run straight through them. So it's kind of like best of both worlds from that perspective. He is Jimmy Garoppolo's wet dream. He is literally the man that can catch a ball that has been thrown to him not even 5 yards away, 5 inches away, and take it for a house call. 57 yards that rush was, or that receiving catch was, and Yeah, he had 115 yards throughout the day, averaging 19.2
That's what I mean,
yards a carry, man. That's ridiculous.
Unbelievable,
Jeff. Okay, cool. So that's NFC done. Deebo Samuel is signed. Move on to the AFC then. Who are you signing from the AFC?
I'm going to keep it along the same vein, and I'm going to sign a wide receiver. So basically, I'm slapping 2 quarterbacks. I'm signing 2 wide receivers. Wide receiver number 2, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
The man can do everything. He's the deep threat that the Giants do not possess. We've not got anybody who can go deep. And he's just, when a play breaks down, he can just extend it so much more after the quarterback's sort of rolled out of the pocket. Tyreek he'll just flick it on, destroy some safety or corner, whoever's trying to stay with him. It's impossible. You can't stay with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's the most explosive player in the league.
Yeah, he's a freak. He's a freak of nature. His 0 to 100 is just like a flick of a button.
Yeah. I mean, he had 10 catches for 160 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, but he's just a complete difference maker. And I think with Teddy Bridgewater, is it Teddy Bridgewater that's good? Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah. I think he's going to be even worse because he's going to be catching them slants, and he's just going to be running people down.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what he does in the next game.
Yeah, that's a cheeky one, that is. I mean, I was going to say it's a cheeky one for fantasy, but there's no way on this planet that anybody in any fantasy league has got Tyreek Hill that's not been picked up. So whoever did pick him up early are going to reap the rewards. Somebody picked him up early in our fantasy league, Dave. Who was that?
Yeah, they did. And they're loving every second of it.
It was you. That's ridiculous, though. 160 yards off 10 receptions, 16 yards a carry. You would eat a dead horse if you were a quarterback for those kind of numbers. So, amazing, good stuff. AFC sign. What about your AFC slap?
Now, I was torn between 2 players on the same team. I was torn between Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky.
Oh dear. Yeah, now, what a sad state of affairs.
I went for Mitch Trubisky in the end because it was Kenny Pickett's first game, so I will excuse him from his 3 interceptions that he threw. And in fact, he was 10 of 13. So he was only 3 incompletions. Yeah, his only 3 incompletions were actual interceptions, which isn't great, I know. However, Mitchell Trubisky, the man's a bum. 84 yards, 1 interception. I can see why he's actually not got a bad record when you look at his wins and losses. But this week, I mean, he's average at best, and this week he played like an absolute bum. And I think if he doesn't, he's now been moved down the depth chart, so Pickett's their new starter. Yeah. So we probably won't see him again unless Pickett is Dogus Turdus. We probably won't see Mitch Trubisky again. I don't think any other team would pick him up either.
No, he's going to have to see the season out at the Steelers, and it was probably his last chance to have any kind of a sniff at any starting quarterback role or position in the NFL anymore. The Bears probably did the right thing in letting him walk. He doesn't, apart from being able to like sort of run with the ball every so often, he's slightly mobile, but compared to a lot of the quarterbacks in this league now, like mobility has changed entirely. Like Mitch Trubisky used to, around the time that he was starting at the Bears, used to be a little bit of a tasty mobile quarterback, and that was before the likes of Lamar, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, all those types of players came into the league. I know we've had some mobile quarterbacks in the past, Michael Vick and Russ Wilson and Cam Newton and that, but just another level of agility. But he's if he's not got that, he's got note. So that's not good for him at all.
No, he is a bad boo-boo.
Romeo Dunn. Okay, that was nice and swift, Dave. That's all your slaps and signs done.
Nice. Easy. What about your NFC slap?
So my NFC slap is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I am going to slap Matt Stafford, LA Rams quarterback. The reason why is because he is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and this year so far, he's not really looked like it. And so maybe my slap is a little bit harsh for this week. I don't know. I don't think so. He didn't have a touchdown thrown this week at all. He threw for 250 yards and an interception. So he had a passer rating of just over 70, which is god awful. He plays on a team with Cooper Kupp, Higbee, Allen Robinson. Like, the guy cannot argue that he's got weapons around him. And he's just not getting the job done. You know, he looks panicked. He looks under pressure. He's got errant throws all over the place. He throws picks anyway, but he's managed to get away with that in the past because he also throws touchdowns. But if you don't throw touchdowns and you only throw picks, you only lose games. So, I'm slapping Matt Stafford. It's merely a reality check slap. We've had to give a few of those out over the course of the last season or two. And this is just a slap backhand, Matt Stafford. Get back to the way that you're capable of. Otherwise, the Rams become far less dangerous in that NFC West that's all bullied up at 2-2 across the board at the moment.
Yeah. He definitely needs to pull his finger out. He threw loads of picks last year. He threw a dirty pick six this week.
Mm-hmm.
And that I nearly slapped him because that pick six killed the game, killed any comeback they had. And I don't think McVay was happy about it because he gripped him on the sideline. So, well-deserved slap. Okay, what about a sign from the NFC?
So my sign from the NFC is, I don't know if we're allowed to do this. It's a Seattle Seahawk. Am I allowed to do that?
No.
Oh.
Why? It's
Rashard Penny. I was going to sign Rashard Penny because he had 151 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns.
You can sign him. Go on then.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say...
Exception.
Thank you.
Make an exception. Because I'm going to do one later. So
okay. All right. Fine. I'm signing Rashard Penny. Just in terms of like his last... If you put his last 10 games down on paper, maybe even his last 8 games down on paper, the man looks like an absolute animal. That spills into the back end of last year, of course, but he had like 700 rushing yards last year off 4 games or something stupid. He's come in and done okay this year so far. Not blown the doors off, but this week he blew the doors off the Lions with 150 yards and 2 tutties. He was a first-round pick 4 years ago for us, and there was always question marks around him. He's had health issues every year since then until back end of last year. And if he's healthy, he looks like a very, very serviceable, dare I say, good running back. And we need one. You know, Pete the Meat's approach to games is run the ball down people's necks, get them on the play action, pass to your tight ends a million times a game, which Gino loves. And Rashard Penny is sort of like one of those cogs in the wheel, those engines that keeps the gear shifting, you know. And 150 on the ground, most running backs would do a lot of nasty things for that.
They would. And fortunately, you don't need a running back like that because he's your running back.
Yeah, exactly. So just rubbing it into those who don't have him. But I just want to see a little bit of consistency from him, keeping his health up. And that's just one of those bright sparks that I'm looking for the Seahawks this year. You know, this season is never going to be a playoff Super Bowl contending season. Was never going to be, never will be. We will get found out as the season goes on. But when you can start to see a few sparks of electricity that you can build your team around, it's a bit exciting. So Penny's getting the sign from me.
Like it.
The re-sign.
The re-sign. You're going to give him a contract extension?
I'll give him a contract at the end of this year, yeah.
Sweet. Okay, AFC sign.
AFC sign is a man that you slapped last week. Clearly, you have the magicist of hands, Dave. That's not me quoting from any ladies. That's just me quoting from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Some men.
Mainly men. In fact, if I spoke to the men, they would definitely say you've got magic hands.
Spirit fingers.
Yeah. But maybe his brother would say the same, but actually this guy, Patrick Mahomes, would not. I am signing Patrick Mahomes from the Kansas City Chiefs this week in the AFC. He had 250 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns. That stat line doesn't really blow anybody away. But if you watch the game, and I urge people to just stick the highlights on YouTube, or if you've got the NFL Game Pass, watch the highlights, watch the game in 40. Mahomes this week was majestic. Majestic Mahomes is what I'm going to say. He was so good. He's just got that X factor ability that if he switches it on, he's nigh on unstoppable. He was playing the Buccaneers, which is no slouch of a defense. In fact, they're amazing. And he turned them inside out. Him and the help of his running backs and his tight ends. The man didn't need to throw to wide receivers, really. He threw passes to his tight ends. He threw passes to his running backs. He helped extend plays. One of the plays that's going around that's probably been overkilled already, so I'm a little bit over it already, but it was amazing to watch, was he sort of extended the play, rolled out to the right as he normally does, did a pirouette out of a tackle, moved towards the end zone, but was still in before the line again, and just dunked it over to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That play just doesn't get made by 98% of quarterbacks, and he's had a bad couple of weeks. He had a phenomenal opening weekend where you signed him, Dave. He's just a player that is just amazing. So I'm signing him, and your slap must have worked some magic. He must have been sat pre-game, podcast on, AirPods in, and then heard this big old dirty bastard from Nottingham calling him out and saying, "Listen, you're in my fantasy team, get on it." And he must have switched it on. Yeah,
he played so well. Like a lot of people liken him to Steph Curry, and who if people don't know, he's a transcendent basketball player who's changed the way that the entire game's played the basketball with the 3-point shot and how proficient he is from with it. And he's the stuff he does with a basketball, and Patrick Mahomes is exactly the same way. When he's on. He can make every throw, underarm throws, shovel passes, no-look passes, throws on the run. He prefers to roll out to the left and throw across his body as opposed to run out to the right. When he's on. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
He's the best quarterback in the league. When he wants to be the best quarterback in the league, and there's no better game to be up for it and to bounce back from 2 subpar performances than taking on the greatest of all time in his house and absolutely taking a big old steamy shit all over Raymond James Stadium in Tampa.
He did. Beat the GOAT, Tom Brady.
He did.
Nice.
Okay, sweet. Who are you going to finish your AFC slap?
AFC slap equals Lamar Jackson. So, again, this guy is a phenomenal player. I'm giving some sort of coaching slaps this week by the sounds of it. But Lamar Jackson needs a slap this week. He and the Ravens had Buffalo on the back foot for the most part of the first half of the game that they played this week. Buffalo Bills are obviously an amazing team. Their defense is also phenomenal. And Baltimore took it to them early, had a quick turnover, put 14 points on the board, scored another 6 in the second quarter. But then it all went downhill. And unfortunately, even though Lamar can generate magic and often does, this performance has to come down to a little bit of him not executing where he needs to, not being on his game. And we can talk about obviously how oppositely, if Mahomes is on his game, there's no stopping him. If Lamar's on his game, there's almost no stopping him either. But this week it was not good. He had 144 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a passer rating of 63, which is god awful. Those interceptions are game changers. Giving Josh Allen any opportunity to get back on the field and put points on the board is just not what you want. Throwing a pick in the end zone when you're trying to take the lead on 4th down is also not what you want from your franchise quarterback. Lamar Jackson, he put 73 yards on the ground, which is standard for him. It's actually below par for him. So he had a bad day overall. He didn't look great. The weather conditions weren't fantastic, but he just didn't look great. And he's catching a slap because ultimately his team lost because of his poor performance. Everything else was doing all right. To keep the Bills to less than 20 points until the 4th quarter is tough to do. So the team did enough.
Yeah, I think I messaged you early on that I thought they were going to absolutely dance all over the Bills when they went up by foot. I think they were 14 points up at one point.
Yeah, you did say you thought they were going to win.
And there's no better team to be front running than the Ravens, because they've got so many people who can move the chains so easily because they can run the ball. They've got Dobbins back so they can run the ball. They've got a great tight end, one of the best tight ends in the league, in Mark Andrews, who they can dink and dunk with him if they need to. And then they've got Lamar Jackson, who can just run past anybody. And somehow they couldn't manage to keep the lead. There was a questionable decision on fourth and goal, which led to him throwing that interception. He needs to refine that MVP form that he's been playing with all this season so far. He threw what did he throw in the first game or second game? What was it, 5 or 6 touchdowns?
Yeah, he's been ridiculous this year. It's okay being ridiculous against average teams, but when you're coming up against a potential AFC, candidate topper, you need to be able to beat them. You need to be able to prove that you're actually good enough. And felt like the lights were too bright for him this week a little bit.
Yeah, choked it down hard.
He did choke it down hard. Yeah. Nice. Well, that is the end of slap or sign. Some good slaps and signs in there, Dave. Appreciate that. We now move on to our game reviews and recaps. So let's talk about those. I think the first one to talk about, the most important one to spend a little bit of time on before we talk about Giants and Seahawks and whatever else, is that we had the first of the year's London game this week. So 2 teams from the NFL flew all the way across the Atlantic to our NFL home, so to speak, which is the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham, which is in
to Harry Kane, who is one of the best players in the Premier League.
Premier League.
Premier League.
Yes, he is.
Weirdo.
He was there, wasn't he? He's a weird bloke, but he was there.
He was, yeah.
At their house, which is the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But this was a good day, good weekend for football over in the UK. So the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has got a retractable pitch, which opens up to be an NFL pitch, with all the markings and all the bits and bobs that you need to play proper football. And that's exactly what happened. And what I thought was going to be a Choggington Stanley game, and that means not very good for people who don't know, was actually probably one of the better games that week between the Vikings and the Saints. They went at it hammer and tong, and it was a very, very sneaky kick to win field goal. Vikings 28, Saints 25. What do you reckon, Dave? It was a better game than expected, right?
Yeah. I'm always going to watch it, but I thought, considering both teams have got absolute sleeping tablets as quarterbacks, it was such a better game than what I thought it was going to be.
Mm.
I mean, what did they keep calling Dalton? Fucking red rocket or something like that, wasn't it?
Red Rocket,
If he's a red rocket, it's filled. It's not filled with rocket fuel.
It's filled with bolognese.
Filled with fucking spaghetti and water.
Yeah.
Absolute damp mix of damp goat juice.
Yeah,
but he played all right.
He played okay. Yeah, I'd almost arguably start him over Jameis Winston moving forward, I think.
Jameis is such a tire fire, isn't he? He was
Yeah.
just on the sidelines. You could just see him on the sidelines, bless him. He another glass bloke, can't stand the field, but
no,
it was good. It was a good game. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And the way to finish the way it did with a double doinker, as they called it, and kick off the upright and then the actual crossbar.
Yeah, that's brutal, isn't it?
If you're gonna miss a field goal, that's the way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, double doink. That's so hit the post and the crossbar, which is hard to do. In fact, almost if you ask somebody to do it, it'd be nigh on impossible. But that's what managed to happen. 61-yard field goal to win the game. The Saints attempted though, so it's not a short field to kick. But this was one of the 5 games that I mentioned that finished within 3, hence the name of the episode, Power of 3. But overall, solid performance from both teams considering their scrubs. I mean, the Vikings should be a lot better than they are. They go to 3-1, and the Saints fall to 1-3. So there's only 3 points in it, but a chasm in relation to where they're sat in their respective divisions. And Justin Jefferson had a good day for the UK fans. They needed to put something on the board for the fans to get excited because there weren't too much. Andy Dalton actually has played the second most games in the UK out of any other quarterback ever. Can you tell me who's played the most, Dave? Do you know?
The most games in the UK?
Yeah, quarterback. He's not in the league now.
The Jags QB.
That's it. Blakey Bortles.
Blake Bortles, yeah.
Yeah, so, but behind him it's...
that's a sad state of affairs,
I know. Poor English fans, eh? That's why football's not taking off.
I think, they've got 2 elite quarterbacks coming over this week, so we're signed.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk about that later, shall we? The elite.
Daniel Jones and Davis Webb, so they're not elite. And some other guy who rubs crystals, another guy who inhales, what's the, them incense burners.
Joss sticks.
Yeah. That's what Aaron Rodgers does when he gets COVID. Just sniff some joss sticks and he's good to go.
That's it. Eat some pop puree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, anyway, we've spent enough time on the UK game, but it was great, and welcome to the UK. We've got another UK game this week, which we'll talk about a bit later. And we're solid fans over here, aren't we? On to the next game. We won't talk about it too much, but it was another game that finished within 3 points. It was a bit of a sleeper. The Falcons played the Browns at the Falcons House, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Funnily enough, I'll actually be at that stadium in 2 weeks' time, Dave, so we'll have to do another On the Road podcast. But they played the Browns, and they beat the Browns at home. It was a bit of a snoozer. There was 3 quarters in which one or the other team just didn't score. But overall, the only exciting thing of this game really was Nick Chubb put up 120 yards on the ground. Everything else was as mediocre as you could imagine. Enough said. So your silence is deathly, Dave. So we'll move on swiftly from there, and we'll talk about the Cowboys if you want to pipe up about them, Dave. I know you love to talk about the Cowboys, but they wiped the floor with the Washington Commanders, aka Wind Sox, and beat them 25-10. Cowboys go to 3-1 in the NFC East, which is equal to the New York Football Giants, and one less than the unbeaten team, the only unbeaten team in the NFL, the Eagles. But this game also had nothing about it, mainly because Carson Wentz was playing, and the Commanders look like they are bottom 2 team in the NFL at the moment? Maybe bottom 3?
Oh yeah, easily.
They look awful.
They've got nothing. They're paying Carson Wentz an arm, 2 legs, and a dog to be the second or third worst quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Shocking. So Commanders need to, I don't even know what they need to do. I've got no suggestions for them, but they just need to be better because that fan base has suffered for a very long time. Next game, the Titans played the Colts. This one had ground and pound all over it. You'd have expected it to be a full-on heavy rushing game, but actually it wasn't. Matt Ryan threw for 356 yards and 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry did run for 114 yards and a touch, but that was on 22 carries, which doesn't make it spectacular. Neither of these teams can get anything going at the moment. It's pretty poor. The Titans are 2-2. The Colts are 1-2-1, which is an awful record. The Titans nicked this one at 24-17. The Colts were at home as well, so it was everything was wrong about this game, but nothing was exciting about this. Jonathan Taylor has fell off a fucking cliff since week 1. Last year he was busting through teams. This year he can't bust through a wet paper bag, and it was pretty poor. Pretty poor.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with him.
No.
Or Derrick Henry, 114 yards for him is. He used to get that in half.
Yeah, chump change that. Chump change. So this next game was by 4 points, so I can't throw it into the 3 category, but it's still a 4-point game. The Steelers played the Jets. We've spoken about this one. Steelers god awful, quarterback issues everywhere, which says everything that needs to be said with Zach Wilson beating them. Zach Wilson's not great, but he did lead a good game-winning drive at the end of this one. He went 6 for 6 for about 70 yards, and he didn't throw a touchdown, but he handed it off to Breece Hall, who just managed to edge his way into the end zone and get the job done. But it will give some confidence to a young Zach Wilson, I think, which is what he needs. And the Jets get a big win against the Steelers. Robert Saleh was losing his nut, the head coach for the Jets, because they managed to get a win. I think wins are like gold dust for the Jets at the moment. So fair play to them. Bills took on the Ravens. We've spoken enough about that, considering we spoke about Lamar Jackson, etc. But that one did finish 23-20 to the Bills. It was at the Ravens' house. It was wet. It was ugly. It wasn't great performance from both quarterbacks. It ultimately came down to Josh Allen just being able to do a little bit more than Lamar Jackson could, and the Bills' defense coming up big with some stops towards the end of the game. But this one was won by a walk-off field goal, chip shot by Tyler Bass for the Bills, and they go to 3-1. Ravens fall to 2-2. Chargers Texans was a stinky game. There was not a lot to see from that. Just a couple of big plays. One from Dameon Pierce, the running back, who popped a 75-yarder, which was fantastic for my fantasy team. But outside of that, anything exciting that you took from that game, Dave?
How many did Eckler have? Did he have 2 or 3?
Oh, that's true. No, yeah, Austin Eckler got a hat trick in that one. 3 tutties.
Yeah. Well, he'd not had any, I don't think, and he'd scored something like at least 1 touchdown in the 25 games or something before that. Not before that, but before the season. And then they were basically talking about it. Scott Hansen was talking about it on the red zone, and then every time he get flicking back to that game, he was running a touchdown in. So I know he had a good game.
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah, he looked like he was full of life. Actually, like I know he'd been injured, so maybe this was the first game where he switched his motor on. But I just looking at the Texans, I didn't realise the Texans are 0-3-1.
Stinky.
Yeah, that's not good, is it? That stinks.
It could be worse. Could be 0-4.
Could be 0-4. I don't think any team is, but they're about as bad as it gets in the NFL. Cardinals beat the Panthers in a stinker that we've spoken about, 26-16. Packers nearly got outdone by a third-string quarterback of the Patriots at Lambeau Field as well. Everything was just wrong for the Packers in this game. Didn't look good. They didn't look good at all on defense nor offense, really. this finished 27-24 to the Packers with a field goal in overtime. The Patriots went to overtime.
He threw a pick six as well, didn't he? Don't throw many of them at home.
No, I can't even remember. I bet that's an interesting stat. That is when was the last time Rodgers threw a pick six at home? It must be seasons ago, like multiple seasons. But yeah, like you say, that's bad news for him. What are you taking from the Packers this season, Dave? Are you taking anything from them? You've got to play them next week, so.
Well, I'm taking that we could beat them next week after that performance they put up there.
Yeah, no,
they're not playing well. We're playing them at the exact right time. I mean, they could quite possibly take a humongous dump all over us in England on TV for the only game that's on. Everyone's going to be watching it, and we could get embarrassed. But we're playing them at a good time, I think, because they don't seem to have anything going on offense, and their defense, which is meant to be the best defense they've had in years, is getting bullied by Bailey Zappi.
Bailey Zappi.
Who he is, yep.
Yeah, Google him because we have to. He looked horrendous though.
Stacking burgers.
Yeah, he looked horrendous. Yeah, the Packers did not look good at home, and so they've got some real. If they play like that, they'll get beat by the Giants next week. So that's one thing to take from it. But the Patriots ran the ball, and Bailey Zappi needs to just go away. They need to get Mac Jones back because he's not good. He looked like a chicken that had gasoline poured all over its head and set on fire on that pitch, and just was like running around, not knowing where to go. He got sacked hard, like some obvious sacks as well, as in like they should have been sounding an alarm at him, like when a sack was coming his way, because it was coming from about 13 yards away and he still didn't see it. Didn't do anything to move out of the way. He just took it like a champ, but he took it like a bitch. Got up, crumpled and crusty, like the tissues under a 12-year-old's bed, and he's not gonna do well in the NFL.
No. And he threw for like 6,000 yards and 60 touchdowns in college, which means that if I was a college quarterback, I would throw for at least 40 yards.
Yeah.
In a season.
Yeah.
Just 40.
Just 40. Yeah.
Because if one of them, if I got hit by by who they got, who's the Packers got on their
Preston Smith or Rashawn Gary.
If Preston Smith hit me, I would shit my spleen out. I would literally jettison vertebrae all over the end zone. And they wouldn't even need a cart, they'd need to come and scoop me up in a bucket. Take me off. So fair play to him for stepping in.
Yeah,
he looks like a budget Mac Jones.
He really does.
He's like a skinnier version of Mac Jones, but nearly got the job done against the Pack.
He nearly did. Or the team nearly did. So credits to some part of that, but he just didn't look good. The Packers should have trounced the Patriots once he stepped on the pitch, but they didn't. The Raiders got their first win of the season this week. They go to 1-3 in their division. They beat the Broncos, who also do not look good. They beat them 32-23. Josh Jacobs had a career day on the ground for the Raiders, 144 yards. I mean, a career day for Josh Jacobs. He carried it 28 times for less yards than bad man Rashard Penny got.
How many yards?
144.
That was a career day for him, was it?
Career day, yeah. 28 carries as well. Like,
been in the league a while as well, he has.
Yeah, they gave him the rock enough. Rusty Wilson, old Russell, he can't get the job done. He's just not. Things aren't clicking for him. He had 230 yards and 2 touchdowns, but Broncos country, let's ride.
They're riding all the way to mediocrity, is what they're riding all the way to.
Mm-hmm. They really are.
Russell, the love muscle, needs to turn his cooker on, because at the minute he is absolutely flopping it.
Broncos country, let's ride.
Yeah, let's ride on to the next game.
Chiefs, Bucks, spoke about it. 41 to the Chiefs, 31 to the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay had the pants down on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl only a couple of years removed. This week, the Chiefs get retribution on Tom Brady, the Goatius Maximus, and Patrick Mahomes pulls in an absolute performance. Even though the Bucs made a charge of it at the end of the game, Mike Evans had 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tom Brady played well as well, actually, 380 yards and 3 tutties. But the Chiefs were just firing on all cylinders on offense and got the job done. We've spoken about it pretty much. I mean, just Mahomes loves to sling it about, passing to everyone. Kels, Juju, Edwards-Helaire, Valdez-Scantling, you name it, they're catching it.
Yeah. I will say this, that the Bucs offense looks a million times better when Brady's throwing the ball. I think they rely too much on that run game. They were not cooking until he started throwing the ball. They had to start throwing it because they were down 14 points.
Yeah.
Or 11 points, whatever it was. I think they had a field goal, but they look a lot better when he's just slinging the ball at people. He's got Mike Evans. He's got some elite Mike Evans, Godwin, Julio Jones.
Yeah. You can't ask for more than that.
No.
You really can't.
Sling that skin.
Sling it. And then the game last night, the 49ers beat the Rams, as we said. Matt Stafford had a poor game. Deebo Samuel had a great game. Defense on the Niners looks utterly, disgustingly terrifying. And they came away with what I thought was an unexpected win. But apparently the stat lines and the betting crew had Niners as favourites, and I'm not sure why.
And like a buffoon, I went against them.
But that was it. That was all the games apart from our teams. So Giants, Bears, they've finished 20 to your boys, 12 to the Bears.
Yeah, and I think the Bears are one of the worst teams in football. Justin Fields is absolutely garbage, which makes it all the better for me because they traded up to get him with us. And we got an extra couple of picks out of it.
Because he's shot.
Yeah, I mean, look, Daniel Jones, 8 completions from 13 passes for 71 yards. But he did run in 2 touchdowns. Saquon, 146 yards. Daniel Jones got injured, so he left the game. Tyrod Taylor came in, threw an interception. Then he left the game with a concussion. Daniel Jones came back out, but essentially he was only back on the field because he had the helmet that's got the play calls coming through it. So he was kind of stood in the wide receiver position, and Saquon was in the wildcat, just cooking people alive.
Cooking them up.
Yeah, and like I say, Daniel Jones ran in 2 touchdowns. There's not really much to say. We beat a bad team.
Yeah, you did.
We're
put hurting on a bad team.
We beat a really bad team. So but we're at 3-1, and I couldn't care less. And like I say, as long as we don't embarrass ourselves against the Packers. We got the Packers and the Ravens coming up next. They aren't favoured. It's not a favourable matchup for us. And then I think it might even be, dare I say, the Eagles after
Cowboys
that.
or Eagles, yeah.
It might be you, actually. Yeah, it might be the Seahawks.
Oh, is it?
Or the Lions. I don't know. We're playing all them teams at some point in the season on Earth.
Yeah.
So yeah, to be 3-1 is a good place to be right now.
It's a place you've not been for a long time. And, you know, Bears are a shit team. They are, but you held them to 12 points. Even shit teams can put points up.
We held everyone to, yeah. I don't know if the Cowboys might have got over 20 on us, but nobody else has. So that's what we need to take into that next week in England and make the Packers, make Rodgers uncomfortable. Get some pass rush in his face. We sacked Fields 6 times. Daniel Jones only sacked once, which is
nice.
But he fucking must have thought he was in IB for or something. He was loving life on holiday.
Yeah.
He gets sacked once.
Yes, he still walks off injured.
Yeah,
Shame.
ironically, that's the one that injured him.
Yeah.
But hopefully he's good to go. because our offense essentially relies on the fact that he can also run the ball as well as take one. So,
No,
but
fair play.
no,
Yeah,
good
you
game.
kept the bad team at bay with very little points, and we move on to two bad teams who were not kept to minimal points, and that's my boys. The Seattle Seahawks went into Detroit to the Lions' house to take them on, and this game was a whopper, an absolute whopper. Weirdly, ended up being a 3-point game by the end of it, and that was because, and I'll talk about it in a second, but there was some garbage points thrown up in this game. But it did finish within a 3-pointer. Did think that the Seahawks might lose this one. Didn't mind it I did mind actually, because we'd taken such a stout lead. It would have been a catastrophe to lose by that amount. But you know, my philosophy on this season is play well in some places, and if you lose, you lose. But this is how the Seahawks scored in this game. We scored 14 points in the first quarter, 10 in the second, 14 in the third, 10 in the fourth. That is points, 48 points in total. The Lions, 6, 9, 8, and then 22 in the fourth. So as much as it doesn't look like a great game across the board, you know, we held them to 20 points basically within 3 quarters, and then we popped another 22 on top of that. They were just going for it, literally throwing deep shots and just fucking breaking tackles, and we took a foot off our gas, I think, far too early. It was just crazy. It was a crazy game, but it was a great game for the neutral, or great game for somebody who, like, if you've not watched the highlights and you're not too familiar with football, you're going to see some cool stuff in this game, like some deep passes, some good running backs breaking tackles and taking big runs to the house. Amazing performances from TJ Hawkinson, tight end for the Detroit Lions, had an absolute day. It must have been a career day, must have been one of the best days a tight end has maybe ever had in the league, but certainly for the last few years. 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's incredible. As I said earlier, signed him. Rashard Penny had a great game. Not to sleep on it. Geno Smith had a stormer. The guy has got the highest completion percentage over first 4 games of a season ever. No player has had a completion percentage as high as his ever in the NFL over the first 4 games. Not Brady, not Rodgers, not Daniel Jones. So, he's doing well. The problem is he's Geno Smith, and people know it. So I was saying to you earlier, Dave, if a rookie or a second-year quarterback was doing what Geno Smith is doing right now, there would be fucking parades in the street for him.
Yeah, it's just because he's called Geno Smith. That's the issue that people are going to have.
Yeah,
putting any kind of respect on his name, which is a shitter because he's actually playing really well.
So yeah, the only thing that was lacking in this game was defense. So there's not a lot to talk about that, but as I said many times, our defense is fresh and green, very young. We've got one player that's established really in our team, and that's Quandre Diggs. The rest are very young bucks trying to learn a new scheme, play new positions. You know, we've moved from a 4-3 to a 3-4. And we've got very little experience on the pitch, so seen some good things, and that is it. That is all of the games covered, and we now move into our final segment. This one's just a little bit of fun, Dave. Won't take too long, but we are going to go in with Build Your Own.
We can rebuild it. We have the technology, but I don't want to spend a lot of money.
That's the session. Build your own quarterback. So I've been probably harsh and given you the NFC to play with, and I'm going to play with the AFC, but I want to take intangibles from multiple quarterbacks in those divisions and make the best quarterback possible. Now, to do so, we're going to need arms, we're going to need legs, we're going to need a brain, we're going to need clutch, and we're going to need leadership. Now, I'm pretty sure that they are all self-explanatory, apart from clutch. How would you explain clutch to the listeners, Dave? What is clutch, apart from something that allows you to change gear in a car in the UK?
I would say clutch in football terms is game-winning drives, making throws under pressure, winning against the odds is what I'd say. Game-winning drives is the best. Like any when your team's down and you bring your team back to win in the final sort of 2 minutes. Fortunately for us, game-winning drives is something that the NFL actually track as a stat. So
yeah, that's very, very true. And I couldn't have explained it better myself either. Clutch is just being able to perform under the brightest lights, under the highest pressure. So if we refer to that, please know we're not talking about the mechanisms of a car. So building our own quarterbacks then, Dave. How are we going to do this? Let's just do it. Let's just go. You've got the NFC. So I want to know, firstly, arm talent. What arm talent are you going with for your quarterback?
I feel like I've been stitched slightly here because the NFC has got far worse quarterbacks in it than the AFC has.
I think it makes it more interesting. So
I'm glad you do. So arms, I would say the best arm in the league over the last 10 years is Aaron Rodgers. So I've gone for Aaron Rodgers arms.
Nice. Aaron Rodgers arms.
Yeah, he can basically make every throw. He can with a flick of the wrist throw the ball 70 yards. He's had numerous Hail Marys that have come off in his favour. So I've gone with Aaron Rodgers arms.
Nice, fair play. My arms are that of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's why you wanted the AFC in it, so you could...
No, actually.
Is your quarterback if you just got a picture in front of you of Patrick Mahomes?
It's just Patrick Mahomes naked, yeah.
Oh.
No, it's not. And actually, I nearly left Patrick Mahomes out of this list entirely, but because I feel like there was another person that I could have switched arms with. But Patrick Mahomes, I've chose to go for his arm because he's not got the biggest arm. It's not necessarily just about power, but it's about some of the throws that he can make on the move. We spoke about it, today and numerous times, but it's just if he's on, and if we're talking about just his arms in the right brain, somebody who's switched on, Patrick Mahomes' arm talent is fucking unreal. He can throw it sidearm, rolling right, rolling left, from funny angles. He can bullet it, as a sling pass. He can pop one over the top like a little up and under. It's I'm going Patrick Mahomes for arms.
Okay.
Legs. Whose legs you got?
Well, this one I could have had many people. So I've got Kyler Murray, who's got little rat legs, who runs around a lot.
He's got like baby doll legs. You don't want them.
I've then got Jalen Hurts, who again has little rat legs. However, I've gone for a man by the name of Danny Wheels.
No, Danny Wheels. Danny Dimes' legs.
Yeah.
The giraffe legs.
And I'll tell you why. Because he's obviously not got the best legs. He's not the quickest. Although his 80-yard run actually was the quickest of any player not named Tyreek Hill. How bad's that? I don't want the other two because they piss me off. I hate it. I hate the fact that they just run around in the backfield. He uses his legs to gain, 10 yards.
Yeah.
Or occasionally wheel out and run one in. He's not running around the backfield. And that's what I want in the quarterback. I want a pocket passer that can move around in the pocket, escape if he needs to, and that's why I picked him.
Fair play. And it means he won't be a tiny little ratty QB that can't see above his offensive line as well.
No, dude's 6'5", he can do whatever he wants.
There you go. Danny Dimes' legs. I hope he
Danny
shaves
Wheels.
them.
Changed his name.
Danny Wheels. Sorry, new nickname for In the End Zone UK. Danny Wheels.
Because the man's got wheels.
Okay. Legs for my quarterback.
Who this is going to be.
Yeah, no brainer in it. Obviously, it's Lamar Jackson. That's it. It's enough said, really. Lamar Jackson moves like he's like he's got ice skates on, but in a good way. Not that he's falling over like Bambi, but he just glides through teams and through players. I've slapped him this week, I know, but in general, this guy is a cheat code when he starts to run. People can't get their hands on him. He can dip and dunk and dive and spin and juke and speed through whoever he wants to. Lamar Jackson's the best to do it with his legs.
Certainly got their moves like Jagger.
Mm-hmm. So that's that. We move to the upper body, Dave, and actually right to the top of the upper body and into the brain. Whose brain from the NFC are you going to roll with? I feel like I know it.
Do you?
I feel like I know it. Do I not?
No, because I'm using the same person twice.
Oh, Rodgers.
I think this person has got the best brain in the league.
Is it Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers. Nobody causes more penalties by his cadence, his ability to count fucking 12 people quicker than anybody else.
Yeah.
And like he's been in the league that long now, he will know what coverage. Like I could have gone with Brady, but I don't think.
No, Rodgers has got a better football brain than Brady. I think you've chose right, even though you've broken the rules. But we'll allow it. You let me break the rules earlier, so here's one back. That's why I was shocked that you chose Rodgers' arm. Not that I think he's got the worst arm at all. I think he's obviously got the best in the NFL, but I thought his brain would be what you'd pick because he is undoubtedly the smartest quarterback to play the game.
Yeah, you don't see any other quarterback doing what he does. He'll always see if somebody's making a substitution, if they've got 12, if they've got that one play. You can never get off the field with him because you'll just get everyone to the line of scrimmage, call instantly. Yeah. That's a flag against you.
No, he's smart. He's smart. So I struggled with this one. Ultimately, I chose Matt Ryan and his brain. He's not playing well at the moment, but he was once an MVP winner in this league and a Super Bowl attendee. That's as good as I can give him.
Second place finisher in the season.
Yeah, second place winner. But ultimately, in the AFC, he's one of the longest standing quarterbacks, if not the longest standing quarterback in the AFC now. And that goes a long way when you're a quarterback. He might not have the arm anymore, nor the body that seems to be letting him down, but his brain probably ticks over and sees the coverages that he's seen a million times. He just can't respond to it. And he also has had many a success over the last few years. And so just having an experienced mind in the quarterback that's seen it all and done it all and probably should retire soon is what I'm picking. Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, or AKA Matty Tepid Water.
He's tepid at the minute.
Two more left. Let's go with, as we mentioned, clutch. What are you, or who are you bringing to the table for the clutch from the NFC?
I'm bringing the man who you slapped, the latest quarterback winner of the Super Bowl, Matt Stafford.
Okay.
Stat Padford, as he used to be known in the Lions, because all he used to do was pad his stats. Since Matt Stafford's been in the league, so he was drafted in 2009, he has 42 game-winning drives. Yeah,
that is...
when you put that in comparison with
mega.
Who most people would call the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, who has been in the league 9 years longer and only has 10 more.
Yeah.
Ironically, in fact I won't say that, but yeah, Matt Stafford I'm going with. He's not looked clutch at the minute, but he's obviously got that clutch gene where when his team is down and losing, and bear in mind, he hasn't always played on a good team. Mm-hmm. He played in Detroit for his entire career apart from the last two seasons, or this season and last season.
Nice.
He notoriously played on bad teams, so to bring them back and win is quite an achievement.
He did it so many times with the Lions, and he always looks like he's poised enough to to win a game. Not afraid. I think to be clutch as well, you've got to be not afraid to throw that ball. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be able to sling it, put it on a rope, and he can definitely do that. One of the strongest arms, but one of the most clutch players in the NFL. So good pick there, Dave. Mine is a man that I have watched more than any other football player on this planet, and that is Russell Wilson. I have witnessed his clutch for the best part of 10 years in Seattle, and he has had game-winning drives. He has had to overcome overtimes and play under the most pressure in Super Bowls, NFC championships, which have been multiple. He's had some setbacks, but he's also won many a game. And yeah, he came into the league 3 or 4 years after Matt Stafford, I believe. But he also is in the sort of top 15 ever game-winning drives in the NFL, and he's still got many years to play. He has that gene as well, like you said. He can just find a way. So many times did the Seahawks end up with a ball in the fourth quarter. Certainly not good for my heart, and it's probably shaved many a year off my life. Is that Russell Wilson ended up having to fight us down for a game-winning drive. But do you know what? Nothing more exciting when that happens, and he's an absolute wizard generally when he's playing for the Seahawks. Yet to be seen at the Broncos.
Yeah, I agree.
Last one, leadership. Whose leadership are you taking?
There can be but one man.
The man that's seen it all, done it all.
Brady. Who ironically has just hired divorce lawyers.
Has he actually?
Yeah.
No way.
Just read it on Instagram, yeah. So him and Giselle look like they're splitting up.
No way.
Anywho.
Breaking news, that is. Dun. Brady, Giselle, break up. Dave brings you the first story.
Yeah.
Get her on the phone, Dave.
Zach Wilson been rubbing his hands. Loves a milk, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
Yeah, Tom Brady. He's the ultimate team player. Has never took the max contract that he could get to ensure that there was always money for other players on his team. Suffered in silence for the best part of 20 years under Bill Belichick. And just got on with it. Just got on with the job. I'm not saying he never once complained or moaned, but he's never really been in, apart from like Deflategate. But that he got suspended for Deflategate, didn't he? But
yeah,
fuck all to do with him. If someone takes a bit of air out for football, he's just throwing it. I don't think there's any other player that you could pick.
No, not from the NFC. I mean, the amount of times you've seen the video clips of Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl of him just rallying his team, sitting there screaming at them, laser focus, we're still in it, you know. He is, and he's seen it and done it all. You would listen, like if you're a football player, you would listen, you'd hang on every word he's got to say, because he's the GOAT.
Yeah, I don't think people probably don't. People probably dislike him because he was a bit of a weirdo straight bloke, wasn't he? At the Patriots, he definitely let his hair down a little bit at Tampa, at the Bucs. But the man's won 7 Super Bowls. When you think of all the great players that have played this game within the last 20 years, Drew Brees, 1 Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers, 1 Super Bowl. Peyton Manning, 2 Super Bowls. He's got Big Ben, 2 Super Bowls. Do you know what I mean? He's got more Super Bowl wins than any franchise. The guy's the definition of leadership.
I think you've won that one, Dave.
Well, that's just the way it goes, isn't it?
Not beat that, but I am going to go with, for my leadership, Josh Allen. So he's a young buck. He's not been in the league very long, but he's starting to show signs that he could be an absolute leader of the pack. And I think I picked him because it was actually recently I heard that he was quoted it wasn't even anything special, but I think they were asking about how he was going to win a certain game. It might have been the first game of the season, or it was I think it was the first game of the season against the Rams, actually, the reigning Super Bowl champions. And he was being asked, like, so what are you going to do? You know, what's your game plan? How are you going to win? And he said, I will do physically anything possible for my team to win. And I think that is, albeit it's not always in your own hands, but I think if you've got that mantra of, I will do everything I possibly can for my team. He didn't say for me, he said for my team to win. He does not mind putting his head down and trying, and sometimes succeeding, to run through cornerbacks, linebackers, safeties. He'll dive into the end zone. He'll put his body on the line. He'll throw dime after dime. He will block. And I think it just shows like how hard it hits him. Like when they lost the other day to whoever it was they lost the game to. He took it really hard, and he dropped to his knees after the game. You got Jimmy G on one side, Garoppolo fucking smiling like a twat, going like, I'll just take my paycheck, thanks. Wow, what a game. Handshakes, guys. And then you've got Josh Allen on the flip side, who's dropping to his knees, clutching his helmet because he's lost a game. I think that just shows how much it means, and I think he's a great leader for that Bills team, and should be a great leader to come. So I went with Josh Allen.
It's a good pick. That the Bills, I think the Bills are the classiest franchise in the whole of the NFL. Whenever somebody gets injured there, they've got like a Bills Foundation, which the fans donate.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
When Tua got hurt, they donated money for that. They've done it a couple of times for people that have been. They're a massively classy franchise.
Nice. Yeah, I love that.
And he's the leader of that, you know. And I remember when they made the playoffs for the first time, and they got beat, I think, in like the wild card or whatever. But all the fans were waiting there when the plane landed and they got back. That all the fans were there waiting, and he went straight over to them, started taking photos of them, speaking to them after they just lost, you know.
Yeah.
I think he's a good dude, and I think ultimately that's a really classy franchise. So.
Fair play.
More power to him.
Good stuff. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's it. Build your own QB is done. I think between us, we've got 2 quarterbacks that would stand the test of time. So nice. As per usual, that is the end. Last segment, end of podcasts. So thank you everybody for listening. We are still in association with Hickory Smokehouse Nottingham. Get down there, have some beer, have some meat, wings, waffles, you name it, at hickories.co.uk if you want to check it out. There's multiple venues across the north of England. But for now, thank you for listening.
Ta-ta.
Peace.